I think we probably have more common sense on this panel today than we've got all in EPA and Fish and Wildlife put together. It's interesting to listen to your comments, and I certainly appreciate all of your efforts today. It's great to listen to some common sense. It's really neat. With regards to some of the clean water stuff or some of the navigable stream stuff we're talking about, I think we're already there, gentlemen. I can give you an example in my district. I've got a gentleman who went out and tried to do a little something with a wet weather creek. In other words, from Missouri, where I'm from, we got a lot of little ditches and what have you, and water's in it about 10 days out of the year, and the other 355 days a year it's dry. And so he tried to do something with it to clean it up, and he got fined $16,500 by the EPA. We're already there. In fact, we're already past that point, because now what's he going to do? As a result of this fine, he's not a wealthy man. How can he offset this? We've got the full force of the government sitting here trying to sue him, and he has no ability to go back and if he wants to fight it. And he could, because he's got a legitimate suit. But he said, I can't afford this. I'm going to settle the fine if I can negotiate it down. The practice of intimidation by the government is out there. It's there today, and it's something that we have to stop, and this is one way to do it. So I appreciate your being here today. I think Mr. Chilton, I think Mr. Schock a while ago was trying to get to a point and trying to ask a question about the value of land. Can you give me an idea of all of the stuff that's going on with the Clean Water Act? How has that impacted the value of land in your area, or has it at all yet?
My land is mainly grazing, except I have a 40-acre farmland. And thank you for the question. On my, I can't say that I would, well, the Clean Water Act, as now interpreted by the local Tucson office, would be such that if I were to try to sell my land, that would have to be a major disclosure item to the purchaser. And I do not know how much a purchaser would discount the fact that every bit of water, if this expansion of jurisdiction takes place, would be subject to the Clean Water Act and a 404 permit. I just can't tell you exactly.
Thank you. Mr. Cruz, we'll try that one.
Yes, sir. I think to some extent the main impact on land value so far has been, for example, where a tract of land that includes some wetlands on it has been sold, and also the whole thought of mitigation. I'm aware, as I know you are, there are situations in our state where some people have been forced to mitigate 5 to 1. In other words, they got to provide 5 acres to 1 acre in a mitigation process, and so that obviously indirectly impacts land value. What would really impact land value is if the word navigable is taken out, and the way we treat prior converted cropland, which is being discussed, would be changed, because that's some 55 million acres of farmland that's prior converted, and that would dramatically have an impact on the value of the land. If there are some who are saying that ought to be clearly defined as prior converted, can only be used for agricultural purposes and not for anything else, you can imagine what that would do to the value of the land.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz. I'll yield back. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Mr. Graves, do you have any other questions? Mr. Thompson?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Just one in terms of the complexities of this process. I'll just throw this open to the whole panel. I mean, is this something you're able to, when you go through this permitting process, is this something the normal small business person or farmer is equipped to do, or do you have to hire a consultant? Do you have to hire a lawyer? What's the complexities of this process, and what's that mean in expense?
Well, for me, I had to hire an attorney and 2 consultants, and we had to do an archaeological study. and it cost about $40,000. And I threw up my hands and said, "I'm sorry. I did get the permit, but I just gave up on the project." You cannot navigate the language and legalese of the Corps of Engineers permit process without professional help.
Anyone else experience?
It's been my experience, it takes engineers, takes surveyors to survey the rounds. You've got your biologists out there and different people looking at the plants and looking at things and trying to define the area of the wetland. So you have, and then possibly you need an attorney to help you determine whether or not what the Corps is telling you is right or not. So it's not something a person can do on their own. In most cases, it's something that's very complex. You have to have people with knowledge in this area, and people that specialize in this to get you through it. Thank you.
I would just echo Mr. Schellenberger's comments. This is something that I would not attempt to do on my own. There are too many pitfalls and minefields to try and traverse, and I'm not interested in having civil or criminal penalties put upon me for misunderstanding the law. So no, we hire engineers and attorneys to handle this for us, and the cost is passed on to the customer. And in our case, most of the time, the customer is a political subdivision, and so that cost is then passed on to the taxpayer of that political subdivision. So, I mean, everything has its consequences, and we charge for those consequences. And I think it could be a whole lot simpler if some of the panelists have said, or congressmen have said, if some common sense reigned, it would make a big difference for everybody.
So it's fair to say that these costs obviously are not also unnecessary, but frankly are just going to be crushing upon the businesses and the jobs that are sustained and created by those businesses.
Yes.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thanks for your testimony, and I yield back.